In today's video, we discuss the 3 reasons I believe in refeeds. Who has big muscles?
I am.
You got big muscles?
Mm-hmm.
Does Daddy have big muscles?
Yeah.
What's going on today, guys? It's Paul Revelia from ProPhysique.com. It's Wednesday, and I am excited to keep this week going. Went on vacation last week, took an entire week off of training, and I've had 2 days of training back under my belt, and I gotta say the DOMs are very real, but I'm loving being back in the gym. It was a nice little mental break. Even though I was in the mountains skiing and very active, I just didn't feel like going to the gym and taking that time out of my day. So I actually mentally prepared for taking a break from the gym prior to going, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I have to say, it's been awesome to be back in the gym. Today's topic is a part of fat loss that can be a bit mysterious, and it comes in many forms. We're gonna talk today about the idea of a refeed. Now, in common general population diets, it's often referred to as a cheat day, but I want to discuss the differences, and I also want to discuss why we do that. I also want to discuss why we use them. So what I want to discuss with you guys is an email I got from a client yesterday. So this client is on a weight loss plan, and she did her refeed, and her weight was up, and she was a little upset. So her question was, why do we do refeeds? Now, I completely get it, because a lot of times when we think of a fat loss diet, we think of restricting calories, adding cardio, grinding ourselves into the ground, and just working so hard that it doesn't matter, because we don't care. We just want to see the scale go down. We want to see less body fat. And a refeed for many people, many of my clients, feels like counterintuition. It's something we shouldn't be doing. We should not get this reward. We should not be able to eat more food than we normally eat if our goal is to continue to lose body fat. And I completely understand that mindset. I respect the crap out of it, because at the end of the day, we are going to do whatever it takes. Those of us that want to reach our goals, I can confirm, if I was told by my first coach, listen, to come in stage with shredded glutes, we're gonna eat dirt, I probably would have put some dirt in a blender. Luckily, we don't need to do that. So what I want to talk about today is actually the 3 reasons that I feel that we use refeeds, the 3 most valid reasons that we use refeeds. Then I want to talk a little bit about refeed strategy so we can avoid things that make them negative, because there is a right and a wrong way in my opinion. As always, I want to state these videos are just my opinion. These are my outlooks on things as a coach. I am lucky to be around some very smart people. I get to talk to people that have done PhDs, that have had decades of experience. I've applied it for quite a few years now. I apply things to myself, and so I'm just giving you guys back that information. You can do with it what you will. So when we're talking about refeeds, I want to talk about the first of the 3 things that I want to discuss and why we do them. Why I feel the most 3 valid reasons for doing a refeed. Initially, when I first heard about refeeds, the reason they made so much sense to me was when we get into a caloric deficit, things happen in our body, things change, and our body begins to adjust so that fat loss becomes more difficult. Some of those changes are actually hormonal, and one of the key things that changes during a fat loss period is leptin levels. For those that aren't familiar, leptin is the hormone associated with satiety. You know, the feeling when you eat some food and you feel full throughout the day? That is a very important thing. As we all know though, when you get into a caloric deficit and you've been dieting for weeks and months, you can get to a point where you actually never feel full. That can become psychologically hard to deal with, very difficult to deal with. So the first reason I feel that we do a refeed is for hormonal support during a fat loss phase. Now, there is some research that shows that a single refeed day after a long period of caloric deficit does not impact hormones. So what do we do then? Well, there is some research that shows things like consecutive day refeeds are actually quite beneficial. So what I incorporate at times, depending on the situation, depending on the client, depending on where we're at with prep, I'll actually incorporate 2 consecutive refeed days. There's also another option called a diet break. A diet break is basically after a long period of dieting, we bring calories back up to maintenance, reduce a little bit of cardio, and allow the body to kind of recover that week. That will help with a little bit of hormonal support. But the basic idea behind the hormone support in a refeed is just that your hormones get very adapted to being in a caloric deficit for a long period of time, and we're trying to buck that trend. We're trying to sort of hack the system in a way. So if the first reason for a refeed is hormonal support, and you can agree or disagree with that, I'm fine with it. I have some clients that don't like refeeds. I have some clients that live off them. I have some that do variations. Carb cycling is basically a variety of refeeding, right? The difference with carb cycling is that you basically taper carbs the whole time instead of having an elevated day and then going back to normal. So now what I want to talk about is the second reason that I feel refeeds are important, especially for a performance athlete, a physique athlete. As someone who's experienced myself, I know the extreme value of a refeed on your performance. So reason 1 is for hormone support, reason 2 is for performance. You see, when you're in a deficit, when you're doing cardio, when you're in the gym day after day after day, restricting calories, what happens is your performance begins to suffer. And part of the reason for that is because we're constantly depleting glycogen. Glycogen in our muscles is what allows us to perform. So what does a refeed do in regards to glycogen? Well, the way I handle a refeed is I bring carbs up and I bring fats and I bring protein down to kind of accommodate a higher carbohydrate day to allow that glycogen to be restored. Now, does that necessarily mean we're going to get 100% restoration of glycogen in the muscle cells? Probably not in a single day. But depending on the person, it can have a drastic impact. I can tell you from personal experience, when I get down close to stage weight, I will feel like death, like I do not belong on a competition stage, like I'm basically a skeleton. I'll have that refeed day and I'll feel like I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger reborn. Pumps are huge, I feel great in the gym, vascularity is crazy, you know, I'm lifting heavier. So I believe there is a lot of value in performance because of the glycogen and restoration in the refeeds. So that would be my second reason. Now when we talk about the third reason for a refeed, it might be the most valuable. You see, performance can suffer and hormones can suffer, but we can grind through that at times. But the third reason that I feel refeeds are valuable are for psychological reasons. If you are going to be in a caloric deficit for 4, 5, 6 months to get to your goal, with no reprieve in sight, knowing that you're going to eat the same thing day after day after day. Even in a flexible approach, when calories get low, food choices basically are the same. Well, what I like to do is use the refeed as a psychological tool. I know if I'm having a tough day and it's Tuesday and I think, gosh, my calories are so low today, I have these tough workouts to do, I gotta get all my work done, I gotta go to the gym and do cardio, you know, I have a lot of stuff to do in my day-to-day life. That stress can cause me to go off plan, thinking that there's no end in sight. But a refeed is a psychological tool because I can tell myself, you know what, dude, it's Tuesday. If you just make it to Friday, that's 2 more days, you are going to feel much better. You've got this day coming where you kind of get to feel replenished. You know you're going to have some great days in the gym. You're going to feel bigger and fuller and stronger. You're going to look in the mirror. The pictures are going to look better. Everything feels better. And for that reason, that psychological tool that just allows you to keep grinding through day after day after day to get to that next refeed allows the process to continue with more consistency. So those are my 3 reasons. Hormonal support, performance, and psychological reasons. Now, you can debate all of them, and I'm fine with that, but these are my reasons why I like to use refeeds, and there are different approaches that I use with different people, but those are the 3 reasons. So now I want to talk about some common mistakes people use with refeeds. With the approach of refeeding using a higher carbohydrate day, a common mistake people will make is they'll try to cram in a bunch of foods that they don't normally eat. So the 2 most common mistakes are they'll either cram in a bunch of food they don't eat, or they'll just eat a ton more of vegetables and things that are very tough to digest. Now, if you eat a bunch of foods that you don't normally eat, you may have issues digesting those foods. You may notice some bloating. You may notice some fluid retention that isn't as positive as it could be. because your body adapts to the foods that you eat over time. So if you throw in something new that you haven't eaten in weeks or months, you may actually have trouble digesting it. Also, the deeper that we get into a contest prep phase or a fat loss phase, our metabolic rate slows down. And when that happens, our food actually stays in our digestive tract a little bit longer. So if you have any type of food intolerance, it's going to be even worse during this period because the food is with you longer. Now, what happens if we are a super strict clean eater and we're told to eat double the amount of carbs that we normally eat? Well, a lot of people will actually just double their clean foods like vegetables. While I don't necessarily have a problem with that, what we might see is with the slowed down digestion rate and the vegetables, you might notice a little bit of bloating, a little bit of fermentation of those things in the intestines because they are with you for a longer period of time, and the body actually has trouble digesting those things. A refeed can typically include foods that are higher in sugar, and while sugar can typically be the enemy, we still want to keep fiber in a good range on that day, but I do like to use foods that are easy to digest. I am personally a huge fan of using things like rice cakes and honey and things that are very high in carbohydrates, very low in fat. Things like rice, because I know they're going to get into my digestive system, get into my bloodstream, get into my muscles quick. The last thing I want to discuss is the difference between a refeed and a cheat day. Now, a cheat day can provide all the things I just mentioned to you. It can provide hormonal support. It can provide performance support. It can definitely provide psychological support. And I think that's where the benefit of the cheat day came in at times. The difference between a cheat day and a refeed is that I feel a refeed should be structured so that we actually get some valuable data out of that process. Refeeds can change. Cheat days, if you're not tracking it, if it's go to a restaurant and eat all you can eat within a 1 hour time frame, which is something I've heard, while that can be okay if the individual is not going overboard, it can also very easily become a situation where we are overeating, we're storing body fat, we can even set ourselves back an entire week, which is not the goal. The goal is to continue to make progress. So we want to use a structured refeed because it's going to allow us to have that boost, get those 3 benefits, but then continue to drop body fat following it. Especially the longer we get into contest prep, the leaner we get, the slower our metabolism has adapted, the easier and the quicker our body is going to store body fat. So those cheat days that you're using early on in prep that help you continue to move, towards the end of prep, they can actually become a setback. You can actually begin to store body fat at a greater rate than you're burning it through the rest of the week. So I would suggest using a refeed approach. If you are going to use a cheat day approach, track it. Find out what you're doing that's working. I have some clients with crazy metabolisms that their refeeds would actually look like cheat days because I have them eat burgers and french fries and things like this because I know it helps with their process because they can handle very large refeed days. But again, going off the rails, not knowing what you're taking in, it doesn't really help provide data. Now you might get a great pump the next day, but a great pump, if you're putting on body fat in some stubborn areas, that's not really benefiting us. Thank you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. That's why I use refeeds. I want to remind everyone that tomorrow I am announcing the winner of my 4 $100 gift certificates for Core Nutritionals. The Monday video that I put out this week actually has the instructions for what you have to do. You have to comment on that video. I'm going to choose the winner from there. You also have to post on Instagram using the hashtag Core Nutritionals. You actually also have to follow the Core Nutritionals Instagram page. You do those 3 things, I'm gonna pick 4 random winners to win a $100 gift certificate to corenutritionals.com. I'm going to announce the winner in tomorrow's video, all 4 of them. So you have until tonight, probably I'll do it around midnight tonight, so you have until then to get into the contest. Again, if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I've been really trying to keep up with any questions that you guys have for me. I really love the feedback. I love the positive vibe. I love being able to give you guys information. The more specific the information you need from me, the more detail I need from you. Just remember that. Asking me what you should do for fat loss doesn't allow me to answer your question. Giving me specifics allows me to answer your question. All right, guys, you have an awesome Wednesday. I am really looking forward to getting to the gym for the 3rd day in a row after not going for a week. I hope you guys are having an awesome week. I'm really excited to keep this journey going, and I will see you tomorrow.